Manbij constituted the largest dumping ground, having received nearly half of the refugees, more specifically 599 families or 3,650 persons. The important Deir ez-Zor county is absent from the tabulations, although, as seen before, the general figure of 15,000 refugees is mentioned in the minutes. The exiles in the aforementioned 6 locations originated from 13 towns and villages in Cilicia, namely Hajin, Zeytun, Hasan Beyli, Dörtyol, Haruniye, Özerli, Şar, Karspazar, Rumlu, Ocaklı, Sis, Fırnuz, and Sarı Güzel. It should be noted that the important Armenian communities of Aintab, Maraş, and Adana had not yet arrived at this juncture. At least 2 conclusions can be drawn from this data. First, not only did the deportees hailing from a particular community arrive at different times in fragmented units, but they were often settled in separate locations. Thus, the Zeytun group was dispersed to 5 different spots. The Hajin, Hasanbeyli, Dörtyol, Harunine, Ocaklı, and Özerli groups to 3 spots each, and the remaining 5 groups to a single spot each. It can be argued that these divisions were necessitated on logistical grounds, primarily the provision of adequate accommodation. But the evidence suggests otherwise. For example, the largest group, that of Hajin, consisting of 2,380 persons, could have been settled in Manbij intact because Manbij housed even a larger contingent of Armenians. Therefore, it can be surmised that the dismemberment of specific communities was one way of weakening and ultimately eradicating Armenian life. Second, it is clear that, at least during this early stage, not all deportees passed through Aleppo on their way to their final destinations. Some of the groups included in these lists, as well as the exiles in Deir ez-Zor, are not mentioned among those taken care of by the committee within Aleppo city, for example. By the same token, other groups arriving in Aleppo were relocated elsewhere, that is, to destinations not found in the statistical data, as was the case of natives from Karni, another place in Cilicia. At any rate, the flow of deportees into Greater Syria and Mesopotamia continued unabated in subsequent months, gaining in strength and widening the scope of the genocides to its optimum. To conclude, the ability of the Refugees Committee, constituted by the Aleppo Prelacy, to intervene on behalf of Armenian deportees with some degree of rigor was predicated on 2 facts. First, the governor of Aleppo province, Celal Bey, was opposed to the Ottoman central government's exterminatory policy and thus was lenient towards the Armenians. Unfortunately, he was transferred elsewhere precisely for his stand. Second, the Armenians of Aleppo were determined to help their wretched compatriots against all odds. Further research is required to draw a fuller picture of this humanitarian intervention. It must, however, be studied within a larger context, namely by the inclusion of similar work on the part of U.S. Consul Jesse B. Jackson of Aleppo, German Consul Walter Rossler, Swiss missionary Beatrice Rohner, Armenian evangelical pastors Hovannes Eskidjan and Aharon Shirajian, and others. Thank you very much. By the way, this is the first page of the first meeting minutes from the Prelacy archives. I brought a copy, and the file is called Dedrag Artsanakukyan Kahtalyanat Hasnajoovi Dastin Mais 1915 Halep. Notebook of minutes of the Refugees Committee, May 5, 1915 Aleppo. And this is the cover of that study and those statistics, which is Deregakir, Hashiv, Tsutagakrutyon, Halevu, Shurchaga, Bayru, Haikahtalandiru, Maising/18, Dasmuta, Halep.
Thank you for giving us this look into an area that we don't know very much about, I don't think, most of us. And I'm sure there are questions, and I would like to ask the first one. Could you give a little bit of an overview of the state, the condition, the scope of the Aleppo Prelacy archives in general terms?
I went to Syria, to Aleppo, precisely in the summer of 2000 with a special permission from the Prelate Moshe Mardirosyan of Los Angeles. They welcomed me with open arms. They made everything possible for my research to be successful. They gave me, I didn't go into the room where they had kept the archives actually. They provided me with a list of all the files that they had at the time. And the purpose of my visit was to look into the Armenians of Mosaddegh in the Prelacy archives. And in the process, I found those two files and copied them for future use, and now I've started using them. The Aleppo Prelacy archives are replete with thousands of documents before the genocide, during the genocide, and after genocide, especially the list of survivors from each village and town in the Ottoman Empire, and their repatriation routes and all the processes and so on and so forth. So it's a treasure trove actually, and very few people have been able to look at them. It's a sensitive issue, it's a political issue, but it can be done. It can be done. I hope they're microfilming or scanning them. Somebody whispers something into my ears, but I'm not sure if it's true or not. I cannot verify at this time, but it's a treasure trove, truly. I mean, what we're doing now is just scratching the surface of what is available. We haven't gone through the archives of the Armenian Patriarchate of Jerusalem, which also house the Patriarchate archives from Constantinople from 1912 to 1914 and from 1919 to 1922, with few exceptions.